Okay, thank you, Shalini, and hello again, everybody. So as Shalini would have mentioned, a component of this is the development of some concept notes to put forward. And I know a lot of us looking for a lot of action on the ground, and this is where now this is leading to in terms of developing those projects. But more so, we want the feedback, the involvement of the countries so that we ensure that we capture the priority areas in these projects. So for this, it's really a huge idea. It might be a little complex, and as such, I'll try to simplify it as best I can. So basically, just to try and put it in context in terms of the agriculture sector, we know already that a lot of the average size farms is pretty small within the region, except maybe for the bigger mainland countries like Belize, Suriname, Guyana, possibly Jamaica, Trinidad. But in the other islands, we tend to have, small acreages. We tend to have large percentage, well, most of the crops are grown in the soil. And as such, that is a key resource input for agriculture production. We have the issue that not a large number of farms are irrigated. And it has been shown that up to 30% of degraded soils are in the Caribbean. So just to bring that little agriculture context for the region there. In terms of the problem, this is a GCF project, and we are looking at climate funding, and as such, the problematic has to begin with some form of climate issue, and I will get a bit into that. So in terms of the problem we are seeing, we're viewing it on the 9 countries who are currently part of this project, and we're envisioning up to about 70,000 farmers in all these countries are highly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, particularly hydrometeorological hazards. And we have the issue of water insecurity. We have the issue of soil health, and we have an opportunity there for further carbon sequestration. We have the threats on livelihoods. We also have the issue of food and nutrition security. So the big objective there is to help increase the resilience to climate change, as we normally speak of. And as I said, this is a climate fund. And as such, that should stem from a climate problem. And we are looking to address that on the most vulnerable farmers within the region in the 9 countries to strengthen their capacity. And we are looking at both the public and private sector. And through that, we want to increase the engagement of the private sector there, as one of the things coming out is that we need an increased presence of the private sector and the support from them there, and also support communities in adapting to climate change. Kelly would have went through that briefly as it relates to the overview of the current readiness project. So the general idea we are thinking really is that what would be the transformational argument there? What would be new? What would be different? What would help in terms of addressing a lot of the climate issues that we are facing? So what we are saying is that if we can now de-risk the investment in the farm enterprises, that is at the farm level, that is if we can manage the climate risks at the farm level, but also not just the climate risk, but also the vulnerabilities, what we are saying that this now will feed into increasing the equity of the farms, the stability of the farms, and the confidence to have investment in this agricultural farming enterprise. And we are saying that once that occurs, that you have farm stability, you have increased equity, we are saying that these farms can now leverage investments for security and for business continuity by accessing better financing. And we are looking at both the public and the private relations there. I will go a bit in more detail there. This is just the summary of it there quickly. So as I was saying is that it is a climate fund. And as I was saying is the greater impacts that we tend to have is hydrometeorological hazards. So we are identifying the floods, the droughts, the hurricanes as the main climate related threat for the region. And we are saying, while this is seeking climate funding, this is not the only issue that is faced in the region. We also have this high level of various vulnerabilities there. This does not encompass everything, we're just highlighting some, and thus in further discussions, the added important ones will be included. So we're looking at, bad agricultural practices, as we always talk, not sufficient data to inform decisions. We tend to have a lot of the low productivity because now we don't have we don't have sufficient or adequate policies to address some of these issues. And what we are saying there, in combination with the climate-related threats, with vulnerability, what we are now saying is that persons that are exposed are within these 9 countries who are currently part of this project, the 70,000 farmers and about an average of 505,000 hectares of agricultural land under production, right? So these numbers we can look at a bit more closely to get a better representation there. But what we are saying in essence, and from what we have been seeing coming out of the results of this current readiness project, is that the main areas requiring great attention is water and soil management, which are the key production inputs in the region. So what we are saying there, which is the step 1, if we follow these 3 main concepts to help de-risk our threats, then what we are saying that these can now help increase the equity and the stability of the farm enterprises and allow them now to leverage for this business continuity and in terms of better access to financial resources, having better marketing relations and opportunities, the opportunity for contract farming, increasing export, and even accessing, the carbon market. And, when you have a stable enterprise, a good brand, then you will get better investments or better opportunities for investments there. So in terms of the 3 main steps we are thinking of in terms of de-risking and addressing the climate risk and the vulnerabilities there, we are saying that if we use a soil and water-centric approach, and these I will go a little bit in more detail on some of the main activities and the thinking for those. So we're saying if we take a soil and agroecological approach, but with a soil and water-centric management there, in addition to that, we're looking at sustainable resource use optimization with a focus on the water management and food loss reduction, in combination now with the natural capital valuation and information with a focus, which this is one of the key transformational aspects there that will be part of that, is using the soil health card as an asset for the farm to now leverage in terms of getting access, using that as an asset to access finances, whether it's in the credit unions, the agricultural banks. So in a nutshell, this is the general idea there. So I will just go into it in a bit more detail. So in terms of the agroecological component to address the de-risking, which is the water management and the soil management, what we are saying that these now will be informed by the climate information systems, agroecological zoning, and some of the main activities we are seeking under the soil management is looking at the development of a climate resilient soil health policy. And this will be one of the transformational areas there in terms of bringing that in. One of the key areas coming out of the readiness information and coming out is that we need to also take a closer look, not just fertilization, but more so the use of the nitrogenous fertilizers. This has come out as a key issue in the region, and it is something that we need to take a closer look at. And of course, we will look at the various required soil conservation measures, and as well as going into the agrochemicals, how we can reduce the use of those as it relates to, pollution and GHG gases and so on. In terms of the water management, the key areas we're looking at is energy and efficiency, as well as the cost effectiveness, but more so one of the key areas is the governance, that relationship between the supplier, this user relations, and also the relationship in terms of the access of water by the farmers when required. We're looking at the water smart agriculture and on-farm technologies that could be affordable, accessible to the farmers, because the key areas, as I would have mentioned, is water and the soil management are what are the key areas that have come out requiring added attention there. In terms of the sustainable resource use optimization, we want to focus on food loss management as it relates to the quantity, both quantity and quality. So we want to look at the harvesting and post-harvesting actions there to help reduce on food loss. Also, we want to look at method of storage, how you store to increase this shelf life of the produce, and also take into consideration agro-processing. Also, we want to look at packaging, how we can reduce on those plastics and those sorts of packaging material that is not in line in terms of, what do we put it, pollution and sustainable agriculture. So in terms of the waste management, again, one of the transformational areas we are looking into is having that waste audit, so we are able to identify at the various levels of the agri-food system where that inefficiency is and how we can now address that to help reduce, minimize our waste. Also, one of the ideas that we have is this meal, and I will get to that towards the end, is how now we can develop this sort of business opportunity where we change the waste into useful input or some useful business within the system. In terms of the natural capital, the key areas for us there is the health scorecard. And the idea of the health scorecard is using that now as an asset. So the farmers will do measurement of the soil health, mapping of the soil health, and have these data information systems. And we can also have this valuation system for soil health. And what we want, the idea behind that is how we now can use a farmer's soil health card as an asset for him to access finances for the credit unions. And so that is one of the key paradigm shifts for us there, is how we now can put in this climate index as part of the financial portfolio of the, similar to how IDB would be doing, how we can include that now with the financial institutions so that the farmers themselves can use that as a leverage now to access funding for the enterprises. So just to put it a little more simply, so what we are in essence, we are saying is that if we, for these three agroecological, sustainable resource use optimization, natural capital valuation, through these three approaches, if we can use that to de-risk or to manage the climate risk, the vulnerabilities there, then we are saying that this now will feed into increasing the equity and the stability of the farm enterprises, for which now they can use that now to leverage for business continuity, access to financial resources, and building their brand, making them more suitable for investment opportunities there, potentially for increasing exports and so on. So this is the general thinking there. In terms of the leveraging for business, I'll just go through it a bit. We don't have it too much in detail. So as I was saying, in terms of accessing the leveraging finance, I was saying that we use the soil health card as part of the loan criteria. And so you as a farmer, we would have to develop these indices. And then you as a farmer, once you fall within the particular range of good health, your farm is of good quality to produce X amount or continuously producing crops, then you now can use that to leverage yourself, your farm, your enterprise, to access. So that is one of the key transformational areas, is how do we now bring in that whole climate index as part of the financial portfolio there. So these are some areas we need some added thinking, probably added discussion to see how we can do those sort of things there. In terms of the opportunities for investment, one of the key areas, as I mentioned, we want to have greater involvement of the private sector. But for this component, we are looking at both private and public sector. And this area focuses more on the waste to resource, how we now can, because a lot of waste is being produced, both through food loss, both through post-harvesting, after cultivation, those sorts of things. We do have a lot of food waste after persons would have purchased it along the agri-food system. And so there is a business opportunity there now. And I will go into the meal. It sounds like food. I will just give a little explanation of the idea behind that. So creating that business opportunity where we change waste into resources and keep it within the system there. So the meal, while it sounds as food, the idea there is a mobile exchange agri-produce link. And in essence, it is more of a subscription-based service where you would collect food scraps and you turn that into the agricultural produce or the input and to grow our own sustainable agriculture system. And what we are saying is that once you are part of the system, there is the opportunity for some form of discount. So say, for example, if you put in your waste into the system to the farmer to reuse on his farm, then you have the opportunity that when you buy back through the system to receive some form of discount because you know putting in your waste there. And same with the farmer, he is using the waste there, and thus when you're selling your produce, you could get, you know, an increased an incentive or something for that sort, for being in that system there. So this is just the general thinking of it. So just to get a bit more there. So basically, if you are one of these farmers there, the contract farmer, you are part of the whole subscription, but you will also have persons who will not be part, but however, they are the ones the farmers would buy back from, and also you'll get that incentive for putting in your waste into the system. And persons who would have been in that system taking back the waste and turning it into useful inputs, then you have that opportunity to lower your cost of production. I know now a lot of people want to go into the switching into the organic farming, and that will create a great opportunity now that you will have available these resources to put into your organic farming. So in essence, this is the general idea there. And what we are saying, it is an opportunity to have both the public and private sector in this system. Also, it has the opportunity for contractual arrangements, because if a farm is stable, if it's consistent, then persons will take more of a chance to contract that particular farmer to produce. It has the buyback and the discount in it. It also, in terms of food, you can trust and lead to some behavioral change as it relates to the type of food we eat, because we'll be collecting, this system will allow for the tracing of your food, the collecting of the information there. And as such, you will get a better idea of where your food is coming from, how it is being produced. And at the same time, it will allow us for various data collection as it relates to carbon sequestration and other farming activities, and the whole idea of the climate adaptation. Just some light stuff there in terms of the key objectives. We are looking at it helping in terms of economic sustainability and opportunities, business opportunities there, strengthening the women in leadership there as well. There will be increased roles for women in that there. Bringing that in, we have a greater opportunity to have chemical-free produce and products, the opportunity to sequester even more carbon, rekindle community pride, and it has this whole social aspect to it. So these are the key things, key thinking there. So just to bring it all together, I hope I have not confused anybody too much. It is really a general idea where we try to bring in the whole idea that the main impacts in terms of the climate is hydrometeorological hazards, but also not forgetting all the vulnerabilities that exist there and de-risking that now, and with the focus on water, looking the main transformational area would be developing that climate smart health policy and also bringing in that whole meal system, and where you could use now your soil health card as a leverage to access business opportunities there. So these are that was the general thinking that we have, and we just wanted to share that with you. It definitely does not include everything. And as such, this is where now the discussion will open with the countries to ensure that we now capture the key areas of importance and of priority for them.